Roll call.
Ms. Martin. Here. Mr. McHugh. Here. Mayor Martin.
Here.
Ms. Doherty. Here. Ms. Faticante. Mr. Leahy.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. 7 present. To begin the meeting this evening, we have 2 spotlights on excellence. I recognize the superintendent.
Yes, Mayor Martin. The last time we had a spotlight on excellence, it was the Junior Air Force ROTC chapter, which announced that it had met its goal last year of 15,000 hours of community service. So it seems fitting for the first spotlight of excellence to continue that theme of community service by Lowell students. And I'd like to invite Athletic Director Brian Martin forward to explain tonight's honor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the school committee, Madam Superintendent. We're thrilled that we've been selected to be the spotlight in excellence for this evening, and Lowell High School tennis team with Coach Jen Carey has partnered with Michelle Hayden at the Boys and Girls Club and done a terrific job. This is the second year that the program is run at Shed Park, and it provides opportunities that many youngsters would not typically have. And we're very fortunate that Michelle Hayden has been a great partner with us. We've actually had some cheerleading clinics over there for their girls. We're hoping to start some lacrosse because the lacrosse coach for Lowell High School, Danielle Claremont, works for the Boys and Girls Club. And we've had a great past spring with them. So we think the future is bright, and we're delighted that we have a partnership with Michelle. So I'd like to ask Michelle to come up and recognize some of the students and say a little bit about the program.
Thank you very much for allowing us to be here tonight. It's been quite a pleasure for me to be at the Boys and Girls Club for the past 6 years, and over time we have to be very creative with the types of programs and services we offer the youth of our community. We serve youth ages 7 to 18, and most of them do come from disadvantaged circumstances. Most of them have very bright futures if we keep them on a very good and positive path. You see them by day at school, we see them after school, weekends, vacations, snow days, and summer. Summer is a highlight because we see 450 children and teens in the building every single day, from sometimes 8 in the morning until 8 at night. During the summer, we like to get them out. We obviously want to make use of the resources, and unfortunately for many of us, the Parks and Recreation programs, as we all have known it, or I knew it growing up in the city of Lowell, is just not able to accommodate all that are in this community. So what we had done back in 2003, when the Fed Cup came to Lowell, is we partnered with USTA New England as an attempt to get tennis started at a younger age so that these children may get a life skill out of it, they may get some self-esteem, they may get to be so good that they go on to join the Lowell High School tennis team. So 2 summers ago, when we received a very small grant, enough to get the transportation and our staff to supervise, we reached out to the group that we thought would come through for us. And needless to say, I went first and foremost to my sister, Jennifer Carey, who is the head tennis coach for the girls team. She spearheaded the interest with both the boys and the girls team. And I'd like them all to stand up, if you don't mind, behind me. In addition, we have our youngest volunteer. She's not old enough to be a club member, but she is old enough to be, actually, I think she just had a birthday. Can you just stand maybe onto this side so everyone can notice? Paige, you stay with me, though. She decided she knew how to play tennis, and she wanted to teach some of the kids that didn't. So we have our youngest volunteer, who's a Riley School student. And I'm sorry to do this to you, Joe. We have our oldest volunteer here with us tonight, Joe Broder, who's a Lowell High School alum, class of 1942, who has come out and coached with the team. We do a 6-week program at Shed Park, thanks to the Parks and Recreation Department allowing us to use that site. The volunteers that you see here are Lowell High School students, all on the tennis team, many of whom on a second team, very good scholars, one of whom has gone on to Endicott College, who is not with us here tonight. And I would just like to recognize each of them, if I could, by name. I mentioned Paige Carey. We have Trell, sorry about that. Victoria Trell, Alex Hayden, Jimmy Rindo, Peter Theodoris, and Matt Gendron. Jennifer Carey, we've recognized. I also want to point out a couple of people who couldn't be here tonight, one of whom, his name is Tim Bergeron, and the second person I mentioned, Allison, who's in college right now, and Tabitha Karanja, who also couldn't be here with us this evening, and a Lowell High parent, Kate Gendron, who was on the courts with us 6 weeks as well, all of whom are doing this as a volunteer effort. I don't think any one of them had ever asked or expressed concern about the time that they gave to those that were really less fortunate. I'd like Matt, if you don't mind, to come through, and it'll be just a moment for you to take a peek. Matt has some photographs. I could have brought all the kids with us, but I figured it would be a little bit much. But Matt will just show you a glimpse of what happened out there. The rackets were donated to us by Wilson through the USTA New England. USTA would offer us some incentive prizes. And I am pleased to say that USTA is doing this, not just to get rackets in the hands of the kids at the club. They really would like this to be a Lowell-wide activity. They would like this to be something in the schools. They have the ability to train gym instructors. They have the ability to provide equipment for the Boys and Girls Club to work with all of you in the schools so that we can incorporate some of the skills associated with tennis into the school-based programs. And I know we all have to be creative about getting these kids fit today when they think they're just having fun. And we've talked about this a number of times, Dr. Bear, but this is something that they get excited about. So at the same time that this group of 60 students would go over to Shed Park, we had another group at the movies celebrating their reading accomplishments. We had another group at Mass Golf Association golfing, and we still had about another 400 kids in the building enjoying the club services. So I want to thank you for the leadership that you've given, and I want to ask if Brian Martin could come back up for one last moment. We want to give you a recognition plaque. Paige is going to present this to you.
Awesome.
And we hope that you'll hang that proudly in the halls of Lowell High School. And thank you all, and remind everyone it takes all of us to make this happen. So thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Thank you, Ms. Hayden, and most especially thank you to all of the student volunteers who've made this program a great success. Second spotlight on excellence this evening recognizes the Songus Industrial History Center. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, the Songus Industrial History Center is a partnership of UMass Lowell and the Lowell National Historical Park to tell the continuing story of the American Industrial Revolution, deindustrialization, globalization of the textile industry, and the revival of Lowell. Since the center was first opened in 1991, the staff of the Songus Center have worked with the Lowell Public Schools to involve teachers in intensive institutes, which then created curriculum plans in which students learned the history of Lowell through intensive hands-on activities, guided tours of the park, and community resources. This has been an extraordinary partnership, and we have now have the privilege of nominating the Songus Industrial History Center as the outstanding school for this Outstanding School Partner Award given annually by the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. I think that many of the people here this evening know directly of the work of the center because every third grader in Lowell investigates the shift from farm to factory using primary sources and trips to the Songus Center. All of our fifth grade students use the resources of other national parks to study colonial and Revolutionary War life using primary resources developed in collaboration with the center staff and our teachers, and works of historical fiction. All of our eighth grade students use the center and the park to study political, economic, and social changes underlying the American Revolution, the development of constitutions, the Industrial Revolution, the Civil War, and Reconstruction. Our ninth grade students now all study the unintended effects of industrialization and urbanization on the Merrimack River watershed. And we are currently working on a unit in which all of our seventh grade students will study water power and engineering through hands-on activities and tours of the city's dams, powerhouses, canals, the National Park's Water Power exhibit, and the Tsongas Center's hands-on water workshop. It has been a 15-year partnership of extraordinary depth and productivity and power for our teachers and our students. This is the director of the center for many years is retiring, and this is an opportunity to thank him and to thank the center for their work. So I'd like to invite Michael Creasy, director of the Lowell National Historical Park, Don Pearson, Dean of the Graduate School of Education, Sheila Kirschbaum, School Liaison for the Tsongas Industrial History Center, and Dr. Peter O'Connell, retiring Executive Director, to the podium. Who's going first?
Well, thank you very much for this recognition. And it is very much an appropriate recognition for all of us here, because no one person does this kind of work alone. It requires partnership, for which Lowell is justly well known. It requires a lot of cooperation between Dr. Bayer's staff, the National Park, the Graduate School of Education, the university in general, and even members of the school committee who have assisted us in the past. We're very proud of the collaboration with Lowell Public Schools, and from my perspective, having worked at this 10 years, we've done a lot, but there's so much more that we can do together. The fact that the structure of the partnership is in place, that we know one another, we trust one another, we've worked together on a number of projects, means that we can be quickly responsive when opportunities present themselves. 4 years ago, we together applied for funding from the United States Department of Education and received a $1 million grant to provide professional development for Lowell's 5th and 8th grade teachers. We similarly, in a project that Sheila directed on our behalf, working with teachers from the Bartlett School, we secured one of a handful of national projects called the Save Our History Project, and involved a group of students in an after-school program to study resources in the acre. And together with the university's marketing department, developed a family activity guide, so people both visiting Lowell and in Lowell could become more aware of Lowell's wonderful history and the continuing story of industrialization. So, as I say, these are just two examples of projects that we were able to respond very quickly to. And the fact of having this kind of partnership and this kind of track record gives us great credibility when we go out to funders. So I want to assure you that the partnership will continue. Sheila Kirschbaum, all of you, many of you know, as a parent, as a frequent chaperone of band activities, as a member of the Citywide Parent Council in the past, and as the liaison of the Tsongas Center to the Lowell Public Schools, particularly at Social Studies Curriculum Committee. So Sheila is acting interim director and will be a person you can call on, as well as Michael Creasy and Don Pearson, who you all have come to know well. So thank you so much for this recognition on our behalf.
Thank you, Dr. O'Connell, and we wish you many happy years of retirement. We will miss you, and we appreciate your contribution over these many years. Ms. Martin.
Just briefly before we move forward, I do just want to quickly mention that the Tsongas Industrial History Center is an extraordinary resource in our city and beyond, certainly throughout the region. I say that certainly as someone who's been aware of the program for many years, but also having spent some time doing my practicum during my graduate school experience at the Tsongas Industrial History Center. And I will say Mr. O'Connell was a kind man who, when a very atypical graduate school student came to him, allowed me to really craft a practicum experience that was extremely valuable to me. And I really got a great deal out of it, so I was very appreciative of that. And I think the program itself has been built extraordinarily well and really bodes well for the future, that it will continue to offer students just an extraordinarily interesting and exciting way to learn history, which I think, especially in a community like ours where we talk about our history and we draw so much from it, so much strength from it, it really does give our students just a wonderful opportunity to learn in a very real, tangible way. So I thank you for your many years of work.
Thank you. Okay, I believe that concludes our presentation on Spotlights on Excellence this evening. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular school committee meeting of October 4, 2006. Motion to approve the minutes by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Ms. Martin.
No, just say
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under permission to enter, Madam Superintendent. There are none. Okay. Which brings us to the memorials. Three offered by Ms. Faticante. The first for Alice Bond, mother of Mary Ann Bond, Varnum School principal. Second for Teresa Doyle, mother of Rob Doyle, Daily School assistant principal. And third for William Weir, father of Paul Weir, a Lowell High School teacher. If we could all rise in a moment of silence and darken chambers for their memory, please. Thank you. May they rest in peace. I believe there are no matters under unfinished business or public participation this evening, which would bring us to the motions. First is offered by Mr. Leahy. The request that the proper department check all crosswalks near our schools for the purpose of painting as needed, with attention to the Pine Arts School. As soon as possible, there is need for an additional crosswalk on Boylston Street near Lawrence Street. Second by Ms. Faticante. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would just, I guess maybe even through you, Your Honor, that if you could even give us an update on how these get done and if we can speed up the process, if at all possible. I know that from a phone call from the Pine Arts School that there's some students coming from the area of the Bunting Club. I can't think of the street over there, but we really could use maybe 3 crosswalks painted that aren't there so the kids could cross. They almost have the zigzag, the way the sidewalks are set up, and then to get safely to school. And then also if we could just double check the ones near all the schools just to make sure that they're at least visible, just for the safety of the kids walking to school. Thank you.
Thank you. I can tell you this matter did come up at the City Council meeting last night, both with respect to the Pine Arts School and also with respect to sidewalks in general. It is a weather-sensitive issue, but we are going to try and get to as many as possible before there is a certain date where it just doesn't take effect anymore, and we're a few weeks away from that. So I will impress upon the city administration the importance of these projects.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion is by Mr. Leahy. Request the proper department review signage on Draper Street to the Sullivan School for the purpose of slowing down traffic in the morning and after school. Second by Mr. Leary. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. This request came after a couple of, I think, Councilor Mercy or Rita Mercy have put in 2 motions for a 4-way stop at Draper and Glenwood, and they were both found to be not warrant. The situation didn't warrant a 4-way stop. But what I would ask is if the proper department could take a look at it, It's my understanding that we have a number of signs in the area, but if we could even just relocate them to slow the traffic down on Draper Street especially, that would be a big help for all the kids that walk to the Riley School in the morning, and also for the kids coming home from the Sullivan School. So if we could address that in a timely manner, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, anything further? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion by Mr. Leahy. Request that the superintendent update the committee on any and all federal or state school safety programs for schools now being offered. The report should include, but not limited to, safety plans, grants to hire additional school resource officers, and or the purchasing of safety-related items and steps being taken as a school district to enhance the safety of our schools. Seconded by Ms. Fedicante. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I see when we got our packet last Friday, I saw that under the reports of the superintendent, there is a report on school safety. So some of this will be addressed tonight. And anything that isn't addressed, I can relay that to superintendent. But there has been a lot of talk nationally and statewide, so maybe there's going to be some money available for school districts. And one other thing that did come to mind that somebody asked me to check on today was that to make sure that all our schools have a camera and a safety, a buzz-in type system at our schools. And I did ask Mr. Lang to check on that. And we did find that all the schools do have a camera and I don't know what you call buzzer for door. So nobody can just walk into our schools. So the person that asked me that today, I hope they're watching, all the schools, you can't get in the school without being buzzed in. All the schools do have a camera, and if they ever do break down, they're fixed immediately. So, but as far as that goes, that's all set. And anything that, as I said, anything that isn't covered in tonight's safety report, maybe we can take a look at it to see what's out there for our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fedicante.
Thank you, Your Honor. I share Mr. Leahy's concern, and I also spoke to the same person today. And they made me think about the fact that you could dress as a delivery person, and somebody looks out at the camera and sees that you're a UPS or FedEx or whatever person and get buzzed in. What is the guarantee that the person coming into the school has to go to the office? There is no guarantee that that happens, and that's obviously a concern. I look out in the camera and I see somebody who I don't recognize, but I assume it's a safe person. What's to prevent the person from not going to the office? I think that has to be part of the safety plan. It has to be. It has to be, because I don't think there's any room for error here. And I don't know if that currently is part of the safety plan, if that is addressed, because I think that people, and I know schools are busy. I mean, no one is indicating that schools are not busy. But again, what safety plan do we have that goes into place the minute I buzz you in, and if you don't report to the office to make that delivery, how do I know where you are in the school? That's my concern.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy?
Sure. Could I just make a comment on that also? I do know that that question has been asked a few times, and there is a, if they can't, however the school's set up, some schools can see you coming down the hallway. Other schools, they'll wait, a reasonable time, a minute, 30 seconds to a minute. But I can assure you, they do check. If that person isn't around the corner within a minute, I think they do know that, someone just came in, I buzzed them in, where did they go? So I've been in that situation. I've seen people come in, and they are looking for them. I don't think really, today, I don't think they just buzz anybody in, and they're not expecting them. So I would feel comfortable saying that they do check on that, so if that does help. But it would, I'm sure you're going to address that, so. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Leary.
Just a quick question to the superintendent. You might be doing this later on in the other part of the meeting. Where are we regarding having our summit meeting for the safety committee or safety summit? Have we started putting anything in place yet?
We're in the planning stages to identify some potential dates and locations, following up on, I think, was Ms. Martin's motion. Yes, so that's in progress. And you should have some information from me on Friday.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? That motion is approved. Next motion by Ms. Faticante requesting executive session. My suggestion on that is that we hold that until for the last motion of the meeting, unless people feel differently. Is there any objection to taking that out of order and considering that at the end? Okay.
So can I have a motion to do that?
All right,
Make a motion to take it at the end of the meeting, Your
motion to
Honor.
delay consideration of the next motion until the last item on the agenda by Ms. Faticante, second by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion is approved. Under subcommittee reports, the first report is the Athletics Subcommittee approval of the minutes of October 4, 2006 by report by Mr. McHugh, Chair. Mr. McHugh.
Actually, at the last meeting, we reviewed these verbally, so this is just a report of the actual minutes, so just move approval.
Okay, so motion to approve the minutes of that subcommittee meeting by Mr. McHugh, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That subcommittee report is approved. Next, subcommittee report of the Joint Personnel and Safety Subcommittee, approval of the minutes of the meeting of October 4, 2006 by Ms. Martin, Chair Personnel, and Ms. Faticante, Chair Public Safety.
Thank you, Your Honor. This was a verbal report given at the last meeting, and the only thing the committee needs to do tonight is move approval for the minutes.
Okay. Motion to approve the minutes by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That report is approved. And finally, under subcommittee reports, a report of the Lowell High School Subcommittee meeting of October 17, 2006 by Ms. Doherty, Chair. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, the Lowell High Subcommittee met last night. Present were myself, Regina Faticanti, James Leary, and not on the subcommittee, but also present was Ms. Connie Martin. From central office, Jean Franco and Roger Lang was present, as well as Mr. Samaras, the headmaster, Dr. Wendy Jack, curriculum coordinator at the high school, and Deirdre Murphy, a teacher from UMass Lowell, who's participating on the wellness subcommittee. We had 5 items on the agenda. The first item had to do with the wellness and fundraising policy implications. The committee might remember we adopted this wellness policy, I think it was back in August, and Mr. Samaras had asked us for guidance regarding the selling of candy at Lowell High School in light of the new policy and the astounding amount of money that clubs at the high school make selling candy. It's in the thousands of dollars. At that time, during the subcommittee last night, we were told that the policy we voted on allowed candy to be sold after school, so that was not in fact correct. Today, I looked at the policy more closely and saw that the language that we voted on in August was no food such as candy that doesn't meet the federal government's A-list standard could be sold on school grounds. So the motion last night by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Faticanti, was to clarify the policy that it allowed after-school candy selling, and in fact, the policy does not allow that the way we voted it in August. So at this point, we would need a motion to change the policy. And I just have to say, I'll be known on record, my kids already know it at home, I am the Candy Scrooge. I would prefer to not sell candy on school grounds, to have these clubs look at alternative ways of earning money that isn't detrimental to the fitness and health of our students. But I realize, I may be the only one feeling that way, but we need a substitute motion if we're going to allow the high school to sell candy after school, or any school.
Ms. Faticanti.
Well, Your Honor, maybe you can take a motion from the Candy Queen, and we did not understand the nature of the policy last night. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to alter our policy so that it applies only during the school day, but after-school candy sales by clubs and organizations would be allowed.
Okay. So moved by Ms. Faticante, second by Mr. McHugh. Okay. Roll call on the motion.
Ms. Martin?
Can I ask
Sorry,
a question before
Mr.
we do
Leahy.
it? Could we take it one step further? Did the question come up about selling candy during the school day? How much trouble?
That's not allowed. It's not allowed.
That's not going to happen.
What happens if you break that rule?
The Candy Scrooge is going to come
No,
after
I'm
you.
just,
Say, the candy
what
cops
happens?
will
Did that ever
hunt you
come up?
down.
Or? No.
Well, our wellness policy, the policy that we adopted, has us eliminating, Your Honor, all candy and vending machines from the school store and whatnot. And the candy police last night, when we met, this was a huge deal. I mean, we were able to look at the amounts of money that are made by clubs and organizations by our students. That go for opportunities, trips, whatnot, and those would come to a halt, a screeching halt, because these youngsters don't have another way to raise money. So we did want to open the avenue for young people to at least sell candy bars after school. They would be able to, you'd get the box on a Monday, you could start candy sales on a Tuesday, and as students were leaving the building, they would in fact be able to purchase the candy items.
But my question, I guess, would be where it's not sold every single day, is there a loophole that says you could sell it occasionally for a fundraiser? Could we check that
Well,
out?
that's what the policy attempts to do. The policy attempts to allow fundraising candy sales from after school. Yeah, no, after school only.
But during school, it won't allow it for a fundraising purpose?
Candy Scrooge says no.
Well, I'm just wondering, who would
Well,
know that answer?
Maybe through you, Your Honor, to the Assistant
Lang?
Superintendent who drafted the Candy Scrooge policy for us.
Is there a loophole that says we could sell it for fundraising purposes as long as it's not for sale every single day in the school?
No, there is
Mr.
no.
Lang?
There is no current loophole that would allow that.
We make one?
No, when the committee passed the policy, and agreed to implement this for the year, it did intend to address those issues during the school day. So I think, it definitely is the right direction to have those words in the policy be applied during the school day. But aside of actually going back and changing the policy, there really is no way to then allow candy sales within the school day.
Ms.
Clubs
Faticante.
could, thank you, Your Honor. Clubs could also become very inventive. Put up some signs and posters that say, hey, ROTC will be selling candy after school today.
Sure.
So to alert youngsters, to have your money ready, we'll be selling candy today after school. So we could certainly do that. Because you're right, it's not going to happen every day. But I'm sure, however, there are so many clubs and organizations who are going to want the opportunity that you probably will not have, sorry to have you hear this, Mr. Doherty, but you'll probably not have any candy-free afternoons. And that's, I would imagine that's something for the high school to work out. But there's the candy during the day.
Okay.
I can't do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Roll call on the motion to amend the policy to allow after-school candy sales. I'm sorry, Mr. Leahy?
Mr. Leary, yeah. Clarification, do you want before school as well, or just after
Oh,
school? Because we did talk about that at
No,
ad nauseam.
because we decided that the distraction of having the candy in your bag was so enormous, you would not be able to refrain yourself from opening it at lunchtime. So only after school.
Thank you for that clarification.
Well, they would open it too, they would.
You asked.
Right.
Of course they would.
Okay. Roll call.
Miss Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Miss Doherty?
No.
Miss Faticante?
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 nay, passes.
Okay, for the balance of the subcommittee report, Ms. Doherty.
I try to resist candy as much as I can, believe me. Okay, second item on the agenda was the campaign for educational excellence. The headmaster referred the committee to a letter written by the Campaign for Educational Excellence Director, who is a part-time employee, has been running our campaign since 2002. There is a request to increase the salary, that there hasn't been any raises since 2002 in this part-time salary. And there was also a request for the committee to look at having the expense of the salary come out of our local budget instead of the money that's earned by the Lowell High School Alumni Golf Tournament, which was the original way this Campaign for Excellence was started. The way we ended it was the committee made two recommendations to the larger committee. One is to accept this document as a report of progress. We'll wait on the decision about the funding of this position. And the second motion by Ms. Fatacanti, seconded by Mr. Leary, is to recommend the committee as a whole add the director's position to the non-affiliated employee list so that we could look at what we've done for salaries of those employees since 2002 to look at adjusting the salary. So there are two recommendations. One is to just wait on the issue about how we're going to fund it, whether we're going to move it out of the Campaign for Excellence, but the second one is to move the position to the non-affiliated employee list. Is that confusing?
Okay, so moved by Ms. Doherty, second by Ms. Fatacante. So that allows us to consider giving a raise without having to fund it? Is that?
Well,
No.
it is currently funded through the Campaign for Excellence, the money that they raise
May I
for
ask for a
scholarships. But we would look at a later date whether we want to actually fund it locally instead of letting it come out of the scholarship money.
Okay. Mr. Leary?
Just real quick, I mean, just to make sure people understand, we're not looking at funding the position out of the budget. This, really, the discussion was this budget. What I think you really need is, I guess the second one is really just to add this position to the I guess it's called the non-affiliated employee list, so this person could be eligible for a pay increase when the rest of the folks in the non-affiliated employees are renewed for raises, or up for raises, for lack of a better terminology.
Okay. Any objection to taking the two together? Is it possible? Okay.
So the two are on the floor right now.
Right. So roll
Okay.
call on those.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fatacante?
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Present.
Present. Mr. Leary?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 present, passes.
Okay. Ms. Doherty?
Yes, the third item on the agenda was an update on the Read 180 program. That's our program to provide intervention to freshman students who are reading below grade level. We've identified there are 400 students in the Freshman Academy who are reading below grade level, and the Read 180 program is able to accommodate 240 of those students currently. So what we wanted to know was what's happening to help the other students, and the update provided us with a breakdown. 37 of those students are receiving support in decoding. They're special education students that are getting additional help in reading that way. 57 of them receive English as a second language support, so they're getting additional help that way. That left a remainder of 66 students who at this time are not receiving extra services. The subcommittee had a lengthy discussion about how we can provide immediate help to those 66 at-risk students. We know they're not reading at grade level. What can we do immediately to help them? And what we determined after the discussion was that the Read 180 labs, there are 2 slots during the day that those labs are available, but we don't have a teacher in place. So one immediate solution, and this is the motion that the subcommittee is recommending to the whole committee, is to hire a part-time tutor to work specifically with those 66 children who have been identified as needing the additional services. And that would be a way, at least in the near future, to be able to get those students the services. So that would be, I'd make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion to add a part-time tutor by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Leary. Any questions? Roll call.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fatacante?
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay. Ms. Doherty?
Yes, the fourth item on the agenda was regarding a grant that the Lowell High School has been awarded with Haverhill, the Haverhill School District, to provide funding for an academy development specialist and some other services around the idea of creating smaller learning communities at the high school. So this grant is a 5-year grant to support the idea of a smaller learning community project, which I know we've talked about this in the past, is that how do we take a high school of almost 4,000 students and make it a community where the students know their teachers, where there's teams of people working together. And this position, this grant, allows us the opportunity to do some work in that area. What I asked the committee tonight to do is we have a job description before you that we would ask permission to post that description, for your approval to post that position so that the high school can begin the process of hiring that person. That would be fully funded by this grant. So that was a motion, I guess, by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Fataconti.
Any questions? Okay. Mr. Leary.
Yeah, just to make sure, the job description we have right here, it was a small, minor change, but it was, I'm reading it here real quick. It said the individual was reporting to the headmaster and to the director of curriculum and instruction. One of the areas we get in later about reports directly to the headmaster are the numerous volumes of people. And I think this is part of the motion last night, was to not have him report directly to the headmaster, just adding another individual. So report directly to the director of curriculum and instruction. So just want to clarify when we make a motion to it.
Okay, a roll call on the motion.
Miss Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Miss Doherty?
Yes.
Miss Fataconti?
Yes?
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay, Ms. Doherty.
Yes, the last item on the agenda had to do with the organizational chart at the high school, the administrative organization. And this goes back to something my colleague, Mr. Leary, had just expressed, and he discussed it last night, his concern about the number of staff members who report directly to the headmaster and how in terms of the appropriate time needed to really do the job of headmaster, having all these people reporting to him. So Mr. Samaras agreed that he would take a look at the internal organizational structure and come up with some changes and, something that we could look at our next high school subcommittee meeting that would perhaps take some of that direct reporting responsibility off of his shoulders, and where he's got, larger issues to deal with at the high school. I'd like to just add, I see this as a temporary move, because as we go further, looking at how the high school is organized and deciding as a committee what changes we want to make to that, I think it will necessarily impact the administrative organization at the high school as well. So this would be just a preliminary, something, right away, which we're thinking, as I said, would be in time for the next high school subcommittee meeting, a draft that we could look at. And that was the last motion. I don't know if my colleagues have any comments to make about
Mr. Leary?
the meeting?
Yeah. Thank you. Just real quick, regarding one of the reasons we wanted to look at the job hierarchy is really to see how effective we could be within the high school. I know everybody's working really hard and everybody's talented and having a lot of success, but when we want to make sure we can maximize success, especially with the decrease in funds that we're getting, especially for the federal government, et cetera. What I had intended initially with doing here is really removing, I think there's 21 direct reports to the headmaster, which in any organizational chart is just simply overwhelming. What I scaled back a lot of my initial intent based on the fact we received a grant from the federal government on the Academy Development Specialist. I think that will evolve basically to what I was looking forward to do. However, I think there's small changes that can be made almost immediately that will help the headmaster be, not that he's not effective, but help him to be even more effective. So that's just really my method of my madness. I just want to make sure I get that out.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Fataconti.
Your Honor, also a small discussion that we had last night at our subcommittee meeting. I did receive a call from Craig Gates from the Songus Arena in regards to the mock drill that the Lowell High School students went through the other day, he could not say enough good things about how successful the drill was. He could not say enough good things about how prepared the teachers were, how prepared Sergeant Crowley was, how prepared the administrators were. He was amazed that on students' badges, there was an indication about where in the arena they should be sitting when they get to the arena, and that teachers and teachers were able to group their students very quickly, find out if anybody was missing, anybody got left behind. He could not say enough positive things about how well the drill was organized, how wonderful the students were, how serious they took it. Clearly, he was pretty impressed. And he said, I do this for a living every day. I take care of stuff like this every day. And he said, I just could not get over the fact that it was flawless. So a lot of kudos go to, in fact, the headmaster couldn't even take credit for it last night. He said, I kind of stand back and I just make sure it happens because everybody has a role to play in the whole process. So just kudos to the people at the high school who did organize, I'm sure painstakingly, for this event to be flawless. So kudos, pat in the back go to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Those remarks are consistent. Mr. Gates conducts many graduation ceremonies every year at the Tsongas Arena, many area school districts, and is always very complimentary of the behavior, especially of Lowell High School students, and how it really far exceeds many other surrounding school districts. So certainly no surprise to hear that, given the track record our students seem to have at the Tsongas Arena. Motion to accept the, sorry, Mr. Leahy.
Sorry, just one other thing. I just wanted to say thank you for the attention to the students in the Read 180 program, for the help with the tutors that will be hired. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to accept the subcommittee report as a report of progress by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Ms. Faticante. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The subcommittee report is accepted.
Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Leahy.
Mention one more thing about the second report? Just a comment on it?
Sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that it came to my attention today that, and through phone calls from parents, that I think it's important that we pass it along, that we are doing the Corey checks, but the Corey board is behind. So there's a little frustration in parents that we were explained that the process only takes a few days, but that there's a backlog. So I think it's important for people to know that they are being processed, but we can't help the delay. And the other thing that came to my attention too is that, and I guess we really never talked about it, I didn't know if the board members here need to be Corey'd. So I went down, I couldn't get into a school today, so I went down and filled out the paperwork, and I don't know if we should all, so maybe we all need to fill one out, I don't know, but if you could help us out with that answer, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, under reports of the superintendent, the first item is preliminary analysis of the recent MCAS results. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, the Department of Education today released another set of MCAS data for elementary and middle schools, and I just wanted to make a preliminary report to the committee. There'll be more detailed analysis to follow, and you have a little bit of information, tried to put some graphs together that would paint a picture. The first page of information you have shows on the left side of each box for that MCAS test, it shows the percentage of youngsters since 2001 who have earned proficient or advanced scores. That's the 240 or above. And on the right side of each box are the percent earning warning or failing scores. And if you go to the bottom right of that first page, that's of course the ideal that we want to reach, where over a several-year period, the percentage of youngsters earning a 240 or above score, meaning they've earned proficient or advanced status, goes up, and on the right side, the percent failing goes down. And the diamonds are the state results. The bar graph are the Lowell results. So when you just scanning the charts, you can see that Lowell's results over the 8 years since MCAS started in any particular grade level, Lowell's results have essentially tracked the state's results. The trends are the same. we are, not surprisingly, as every other city in the Commonwealth is, we are below the state average in any given year of percent scoring proficient. We're above the state average for students scoring in the failing, but the trends are similar trends. And so for English language arts, with the exception of the high school, in Lowell and across the state, at the exception of the high school, the trends over the last several years have been very flat. The committee was very helpful last year as we went through budget, and we have invested in looking at these trends over time. We've invested in new reading materials and a very targeted intervention program at the elementary level and also at the middle school level to target youngsters as soon as they begin to fall behind, and to provide the extra time, specialized materials, and specialized instruction they need to stand a chance of catching up. You spoke earlier of the grade 9 program. Obviously, we're doing the same thing now at grade 9. So I always try to look at the MCAS scores as trends. We're tracking the state. We need to do better than the state. Our goal is to do better than the state. In mathematics, we actually did better than the state in terms of its trend this year. So if you turn the page and look at mathematics, again, you can see the grade 10 mathematics scores for the high school. They track, our high school tracks what's happening at the state, and we, of course, have that great news in both English language arts and math that points to now more than 50% of the sophomores who take the test the first time are earning proficient or advanced scores. And we're one of only 3 cities that have accomplished that. Got a long ways to go, but that's a great milestone that we need to celebrate. At the grade 4, grade 6, and grade 8 level in mathematics, again, our trends somewhat track with the state, although we're pleased that we're beginning to see the impact of the math program that we have now are just starting our 4th year of implementation. So we're seeing our grade 4 data this year is stronger. The trend is stronger. We improved, whereas the state, there was no change in the percentage of youngsters earning proficient or advanced. For us, we had a 3 percentage point rise. We dropped the number of kids who are failing in grade 4. The state was perfectly flat. And the same thing with grade 8. We saw a modest greater improvement in Lowell than we did statewide. So that's the first sign that the ambitious mathematics program of using investigations and connected math in our elementary and middle schools is beginning to sort of catch and really begin to show itself in MCAS results. And again, we've launched, again with school committee support, we have launched an ambitious intervention program for all youngsters at the middle school level. So every youngster is getting additional time this year in mathematics, additional instruction. For those youngsters who are already high achieving, it's intensive algebra. For youngsters who need reinforcement, who basically get it, but they need some more reinforcement, they're getting targeted reinforcement. And for the youngsters who are really struggling to get the math concept when it's originally taught, there's reteaching in the intervention time. So we really are accelerating our efforts in mathematics. I want to talk for a moment about grade 6, where our results in mathematics don't quite track the state trend here. And we've got 2 hypotheses that we're testing, and we haven't had time to really look carefully at it. One hypothesis is that the grade 6 connected math content may not be perfectly aligned with what the MCAS is testing. So there could be some misalignment there, and so that could be part of the issue for grade 6. That, as we analyze that more carefully, we'll have a decision to make, and that is whether to, if 8th grade still tracks more improvement that the state is showing, then it means that kids, by the time they get to 8th grade, are beginning to demonstrate what they need to demonstrate. We may not want to mess around with grade 6 if it's part of a logical sequence developed through connected math. But that's an issue that we'll be bringing to the curriculum subcommittee once we've had opportunity to really study it. The other hypothesis for grade 6 is reflected in, we took a look at the percentage of youngsters who are still learning English, who are designated as limited English proficient, who are test takers. And we identified that fully 33%, if I have my numbers right, 33% of the youngsters in grades 3 through 8 who took MCAS exams are limited English proficient speakers as of the time they took the test, fully 1/3. So you've seen the figures, you know that the demographics are that about 27% of our youngsters are limited English proficient. But if you look at grades 3 through 8, it's fully 33% of the test takers. And that's not distributed evenly between grades 3 through 8. So you go to grade 6, and it's the highest percentage of test takers who are limited English proficient. It's 40%. 2 out of every 5 youngsters who took the grade 6 math MCAS test are not yet proficient in English. They're at some stage of development of their English. So that leads me to think about how many different ways are there in a word problem to ask a youngster to add or subtract or multiply in the English language. Many different ways. It's not just a question of putting a numbers in a formula up. The MCAS is made up heavily of problems that are word problems that youngsters have to interpret and figure out what is the mathematical operation or operations that he or she has to perform, which really requires a significant level of English language development. And so when we look at this, I think that we need to take a look at the impact of the fact that our youngsters are still learning English as they're taking this test in English. And committee members well know that starting just a couple of years ago, our English language learners didn't have the luxury of waiting 3 years before they take the MCAS for the first time. They take the MCAS. A youngster who was here on September 29th of last year could have arrived in our school not speaking English on September 29th. That youngster had to take the grade 6 MCAS exam in English in May. So, and that wasn't the way it was when it started, when MCAS started, but that's part of the federal law. So we're trying to look carefully at the impact of limited English proficient youngsters on our MCAS scores so that we don't overreact to certain trends that may be being caused in part by the fact that our youngsters are learning English at the same time as they're learning math, and probably are having a harder time displaying their knowledge of mathematics because they're still learning English. And you have attached also to the short report a couple of graphs. And what they've done is the CPI is a way to combine all of the MCAS scores and to get one indication for a community of how it's doing on the trends in MCAS. And this graph just charts the CPI for all of the urban communities in the Commonwealth against the percentage of students in last October who were identified as limited English proficient, as English language learners. So what it means is you can see Lowell on the far right-hand side of the chart with 27% of our youngsters still limited English proficient, far and away the highest percentage in the state, yet sitting in roughly sort of just below the average in CPI. So this is a chart that lets us look at where are there communities that may be, this lets us benchmark a little bit, I think an expression that Committee Member Leary has focused on. We might want to take a look at, for example, Lynn, which has a fairly high percentage of youngsters limited English proficient, not as nearly as high as ours, but fairly high, that's doing about 5 points higher in the CPI. So we may want to take a look at, are there some things, and again, look more detailed at their scores. Maybe their scores are particularly middle school or maybe elementary, but Lynn may be doing something that we could take a look at and learn from. But you can see that I think this tells an important story for our English language arts scores. And when you look at mathematics, there's a similar pattern across the state. So once again, Lowell with by far the largest percentage of youngsters who are still learning English, scores in the lower tier in terms of the CPI. So that's the other hypothesis we're going to look at is, and it also explains our focus that we have to have on developing English language proficiency of our youngsters. but recognizing that perhaps for us, since youngsters are learning English, and there's that we need to look most heavily at the scores in 8th grade and 10th grade as indicators of the success of our system, knowing that a lot of our younger students are still learning English along the way. So I hope this is helpful to you to get a little bit of a framework. If I could say just two quick things about individual schools. Changes in MCAS scores 1 year to the next at a school level is something that we should not overreact to. We should not overreact to an increase or a decrease. So, for example, the McAuliffe Elementary School last year made some significant strides in its CPI, its Composite Proficiency Index, and in math and ELA. This year, it dropped some. So you can't get too excited last year about its increase or too upset about its drop this year. We have to look at the trends over time. That said, I want to just comment that 3 of our schools, 3 of our elementary schools made substantial gains in both 3rd grade reading and 4th grade ELA, the Bailey, Pawtucketville, and the Maury, and they were schools that we were really looking at because they had been kind of flat for a while. So they've taken a shot up in reading and math. And I want to comment about the Sullivan School, which made significant improvement at grade 6 and grade 8 in mathematics and grade 7 in ELA. It's never been in trouble with ELA. It's been declared underperforming by the state for mathematics. You can see it made significant increases, fell just barely short of making adequate yearly progress. The staff at the Sullivan, like the staff at our other schools, are working really hard with challenging curriculum materials, and you can see the work, the quality of the work they're doing in the attitudes that the kids bring about mathematics and about English language arts, and we're seeing some progress in mathematics as reflected in MCAS.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh.
Thank you. Through you to the superintendent. I think, this kind of talks a little bit about what I was actually looking to get at. I think we really need to look at the same cohort of students. And I think what I just quickly did is if you look at the math page, you take a look at the 2006, you see that we're at 50% and the state average was 67. But it's fair to say just through this chart, in 2004, they would have been the 8th graders that took the test, correct? So at that point, we had 18% in advanced and 39 at the state. So I'm trying to look at that as and I would continue on. Back in 2002, they would have been the 6th graders. They were 17% versus 41. In 2000, would have been grade 4 would have been 16% and 40. And actually, what I started to look at is what is the percent change of our students as compared to the state percentage. And what was interesting to note, from 2000 to 2002, we had a 1% increase. The state had a 1% increase. And then in the following testing year, which was in 2004, we had a 1%. The state had a negative 2%. So I'm finding that interesting. And then from 2004 to 2006, we actually had a 32% increase, and the state only had a 28% increase. So I think, the numbers are helpful, but I think this is the way I'm looking at it, because to me it's important to see the same students, to track them, not to say this 4th grade class versus next year's 4th grade class. I think we've alluded to in the past, it's not the same group of students. You can't just say they all should be passing. When I first looked at it, the first thought that came to my mind was, I know over the last couple of years we've had to reduce some positions, especially in the reading area, and I was wondering if that was the concern, but what you pointed out is interesting, is the state, we're trending with the state. So I'm not sure if this is a state issue, but maybe through your associations, there's probably going to be some way to look at this, but I'd like to see what their feelings are. Why have we peaked, I guess is the question, across the state, and we're just kind of flatlined, which this chart is starting to show over the last couple of years? Or is it due to other items such as reduction? Maybe other communities had the same type of things where we had to reduce positions. So, and then the last thing, when you finally give another report, I'd like to see something about, even though we reduce some positions, what are we doing now creatively to try to provide as much time in reading? Because I agree with you, if a child can read, I think they can do the math. The math is not simply the math problem, 1 + 1 equals, and then they just have to write the number. And it's like you said, it's now they have to read a word problem and understand, and if they can't read the problem, they're not going to do the problem. So I would agree with you on that. So I think, especially as we get closer to budget session, we have to have the information to make those. They're tough decisions, we know that, but I think this is what we like to focus on, is this curriculum piece, to make sure that we are doing the best we can on our end to make those right choices when it comes time to budget area.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
If I could just comment, I think actually to be holding our own and making slight improvement over the last 4 years is a real tribute to the skillful leadership of the principals and the hard work of the teachers, because they've been doing it in the face of a loss of an enormous amount of resources, of classroom-based resources, direct support for students, and they've done it in the face of an increasingly challenging student population to teach. The percentage of special ed youngsters who are taking the MCAS has grown. The percentage of test takers who are limited English proficient has grown. The percentage of test takers who are poor has grown in Lowell. And despite a more challenging population of students who are tested and fewer resources to do the job, holding our own is a victory. And we're actually doing better than holding our own.
Well, and I would agree with you. I think that's what my numbers are showing, that we're actually, if you look at the chart this way, we're actually showing improvements. We're not just like flatline. It's starting to look at, oh, wait a second, we started a little behind, and we're actually moving, we're gaining higher gains more than the state averages if you compare the apples to apples. So that's what I was trying to do to the analogy. I think it'd be helpful to look at the data, because that would prove that point as well, to show that we're actually moving ahead, even though it looks from the way it's presented now that we're just kind of holding our own. So I think there's another way of looking at these actual increases from the same cohort of students, and that's what I was trying to get at. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? If I could just add, Madam Superintendent, you had indicated that it may be important for us to focus on high school results, given the number of people who are new to English, and it takes a period of years for those folks to learn English. And I know there are a number of principals and teachers and administrators in the audience tonight, and I think not too many are from the high school, although I think some are. But I think it's really a credit to the work that you folks have done, that we now, for the first time, have passed the 50% advanced and proficient stage at the high school level. Certainly that's due to some good work at the high school, but it also means people are coming to the high school better prepared for this. And I know that is due to the efforts of a good number of the people that are in this room, and I want to thank you for your efforts. We've had a fair amount of positive attention paid to that phenomenon this year, and I think on behalf of the committee, I know the committee feels the same way, and the administrative staff here, we want to thank you for your efforts. It must be gratifying to see this type of improvement over what is a pretty short period of time. Okay, motion to accept the report of the superintendent as a report of progress by Ms. Martin, second by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next report, Madam Superintendent, on school safety.
You have an outline of a school safety update. I wanted to just highlight a couple of things in this outline, and then invite any questions about the topics that I don't specifically cover that are mentioned here. Under the hiring and promotion policies and procedures, I wanted to just point out under the criminal background checks that the Massachusetts Association of School Committees is willing to do the review that Ms. Doherty and Mr. McHugh sought in a motion on October 4th, so we can proceed with that and make arrangements with them to do the review. Following up the discussion about clarification of procedures for criminal background checks for volunteers. The volunteers who need it are volunteers who are likely to have, what's the phrase, unmonitored, direct and unmonitored contact with students. So if that would typically not be a school committee member. When you're in a school, you'd be touring around the school or be in a classroom with a principal or with an assistant principal. So I think that, Mr. Leahy, you're safe.
We had no doubt. We had no doubt.
I also did want to follow up on, there is a backlog at the Corey Board. The Corey Board does more than $1.5 million criminal background checks a year. And as of the middle of this week, as of I think yesterday, Assistant Superintendent Duggan has reported to me that the Corey reports there's about a 2.5-week backlog now. They've begun to catch up, but the vast majority of criminal background check requests come in between August 25th and September 25th of the school year, and it just overwhelms the system. And as I've indicated, we're going to try to put ourselves on a calendar that has us putting in a lot of the requests in the winter and spring that are good for a year or a year and a half, so that we can get outside of that timetable. The Mass Commission Against Discrimination has committed to reviewing our policy once the committee once the subcommittee meets to review the draft hiring and promotion policy that we've put together. The MCAD is committed to review that and to attempt to reconcile it with the Chapter 151B requirements that we have studied in an earlier subcommittee meeting. So the MCAD has made that commitment to examine our policy and attempt to help us reconcile it with the requirements of the law. I can stop if you want.
Ms. Faticante, do you have?
Thank you. We did have one other question, and that was, if you go back to number 3, regarding the volunteers who come into our schools. Currently, liaisons are collecting that material. We had discussed that was probably very problematic. It was a lot of responsibility to lay on people that we just didn't think should have that level of responsibility. So where does that responsibility now lie?
In the attachment to that, the first attachment that lists attachment A describes the Corey check for volunteers and staff, that procedure.
Right.
It indicates that the principals have the responsibility of maintaining the list of volunteers who have cleared the Corey check.
Okay. And the other part of that was the understanding that people were good to go until they were told they were not. We are clearly spelling out that no one is considered good to go until they get a report back from Assistant Superintendent Duggan's office that says this person has been cleared and they're allowed to volunteer. Okay.
So then if I can go on to the emergency preparedness part, I've just outlined here some of the resources that we have available, the expert guidance that's available to our district safety team, which operates under the direction of the Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. Financial resources, which I know Committee Member Leahy has asked for information on. It used to be that a reliable source of funding for our work with emergency preparedness was the federal funding that came from the Safe and Drug-Free Schools. But that funding's been reduced by about 2/3 in the last few years. So it is really a very small sum of money that's coming out of Washington to the schools. It's a major concern, I think, across the Commonwealth. The typical district now gets fewer than $10,000 for that support. We're a little bit luckier because we're a city, so we get a little bit more, but it is really modest funding. And so that funding was going to be cut out completely last year, but a letter writing campaign from schools across the country got it restored in the last budget. But it continues to be in jeopardy. We have been very fortunate to have a police department here in Lowell that is very assertive and aggressive about grant writing and creative about grant writing. So the police department was able to secure some resources for us to maintain two of our school resource officer positions starting 2 years ago with a grant. And they've also worked with us to secure funding to upgrade the video camera system at Lowell High School, expand it so it's completely integrated with the Freshman Academy, and is now a really state-of-the-art equipment. I don't know if I had an opportunity on about the second day of school or third day of school to be in the security room that has the cameras at the high school, and the security staff there was excited to show me all that they were able to do, and they happened to be zooming in on something, and they spotted 3 kids, this was after school, smoking outside the cafeteria. And so they could zero right in, so you could practically see the youngster's face in the, in the Zoom. And so there were two of the security officers were in the room. So one of them walked out with his walkie-talkie to this group of students. And of course the kid had, stashed the cigarette. And he started to talk to the one who he thought was smoking, and through the walkie-talkie, the person who was watching it, no, the one to your left, came over the walkie-talkie, and so he talked to the youngster who had been smoking, and then rather than making a big consequence for him at that moment, he escorted the young man into the security room where all the cameras show, introduced them to me, and then showed him where his buddies were still being able to be seen on the camera. And he said, "Please spread the word." So it's really a very sophisticated system that the security staff and school resource officers and high school staff are making effective use of. Again, they really want it to function as a deterrent, and they want to very much be able to prevent problems, and again, make most effective use of their resources. So there are, in collaboration with the police department, we've been able to upgrade some of our equipment. In terms of facilities, it really depends on the school and city budgets in terms of any facility modifications that we need to make. And we know how limited those funds are, and we will, of course, keep the committee apprised if there are needs that we're unable to meet with the available funds. If I could, on the second page of the report, just a couple of things. Our district document of the Lowell Public Schools emergency procedures, which is the flip chart that members of the subcommittee have seen before, gives direction for procedures and protocols for a whole range of threats and crises. The knowledge base about preventing and handling crises keeps growing and expanding, because sadly every time there's a crisis or a terrible event somewhere in the country, people do study it and try to learn from it and develop what can be done differently at other schools to prevent the tragedies that have happened elsewhere. So that document continues to be updated based on that new knowledge. So we're changing the format of that document to make it a more flexible document that can be updated much more quickly. And attached to this report, you see, for example, the procedure now in place for handling fire incidents. Came about as a result of change in the laws, and we worked with, Mr. Cassidy and I worked with people from the fire department to develop a very specific protocol for handling the reporting of fire incidents to ensure safety. So there are updates being made, and every one of our schools has an individual school emergency plan. They exist, and they're used. What we're now doing is we are reviewing and revising all of those with an eye toward the latest information that Sergeant Crowley and others have acquired, and our own district team has acquired. And so that process is underway, and we expect Sergeant Crowley with appropriate fire department officials and Mike Cassidy for facilities will be meeting over the next 6 weeks with every school leadership team to review and customize the plans for their school to make sure that we attend to all that we need to attend to. There's a sign-in procedure at schools, which is responding to Ms. Fatacanti's question, and I think people will remember an incident that happened a year or two ago at the Moody School, where the staff was expecting a father to be picking up his child at the school, and so a man arrived just at the time when the father was supposed to be there, and he had a baseball cap pulled kind of low over his head, and the person in the office thought this was the father, buzzed the person in, so he saw it on the camera, buzzed the person in, but then when within 30 seconds he hadn't appeared in the office, the person in the office alerted the principal, and that person was found downstairs instead of upstairs in the office. the person fled and was apprehended by the police within 500 yards of the school. So I think that, as scary as that is, it also should give confidence that there's great vigilance paid at the school level when anything goes awry and a person who shouldn't be there is there. So I'd welcome any other questions on this report, and we'll follow up, as I said earlier, with plans for the safety summits, I hope by the end of this week.
Okay. Any question or comment? Motion to accept the report by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Report is accepted. Mr. Leahy?
I just had a comment. I was sorry. This is a good report. I just wanted to ask that there may be some new funding coming out with all the talk from the president, actually, too. So any new monies that arise, we should go after, obviously. And there is a chart in here that I can pass on that does show that all the schools have a camera and a buzz system. So that's good to know. And I appreciate the report. I did file that. I really didn't know you were putting this together, but so it kind of worked out well. And thank you. It was very thorough.
Next report is on the K-8 student activities account audit. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, you have the annual audit report for the K-8 student activity funds. This was an issue several years ago, 2 years ago. Committee members, there was the need to coordinate all of the funds that were in various of our school accounts and bring them under a student activity fund account consistent with the law and regulations and fiscal security. And so this is the first audit of that account. So it's an account that holds $215,000 funds from all of our elementary and middle schools.
Mr. McHugh?
I'd recommend we move this to the Finance Subcommittee for review.
Okay. Motion to refer this report to the Finance Subcommittee for review by Mr. McHugh, seconded by Ms. Faticante. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is referred to the Finance Subcommittee. Next item is a status of unfilled positions.
Yes, you have a report prepared by Assistant Superintendent Duggan in response to a motion by Mr. Leary and Mr. Leahy on unfilled positions.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Leary? Okay. Motion to accept the report by Mr. Leary, second by Ms. Martin. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted.
Quick
Mr. Leahy?
question. Through you to Mr. Lang. At the last meeting, we did talk about the custodian. Excuse me. So any progress on that, on filling the positions in the custodian department?
I know that Brian and Patrick with Mike Cassidy have been working on that over the last week or two. I can provide you with a report Friday in your packet if you'd like on an update.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The next item is a report on the Mary Badger-Calupo Forum last Saturday. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, I just thought it would be appropriate, since several committee members were in attendance, as well as a number of staff from the district and many people from the community, to comment on the Mary Badger-Calupo Forum. It's the first one. I think it was provocative information shared by Dr. Howard and some very, I think, insightful and thoughtful comments by the panelists from UMass Lowell, Middlesex Community College, the newspaper, the Lowell Plan, and other organizations. There will be a follow-up in January. The Citywide Parent Council has taken on the challenge of assembling information and trying to take some of the what was talked about on Saturday and turn it into action plans that can inform next steps to support high-level learning for youngsters in Lowell, with the recognition that it's not only the school's job, it's the community's job. So I don't know if there are committee members who wanted to comment on the forum.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to say publicly that I'm one of those people that was mentored by Mary Bacigalupo. I was just, believe it or not, a quiet parent sitting in the back of the room at CPC meetings, and one day I spoke up about a concern I had, and next thing I know, I was chairing a subcommittee and on the executive board of the CPC, and although she wasn't alive when I ran for school committee, I felt that she was cheering me on in the background. So I was very pleased to see the turnout at the forum on Saturday, and especially to see the members of our community who came out, as the superintendent mentioned, from the business, from the university, principals, teachers, and, you know, I guess the biggest thing I took away from it is that it is an effort that the whole community has to get behind, educating our children. That doesn't mean we abdicate our responsibilities here on the school committee or the school end of it, but it really is a community issue. It concerns all of us. So I just thought it was a wonderful event. I'm looking forward to having some specific action items. I have to mention to the mayor, because I think you had left at the point that your name came up repeatedly to head some action subcommittees.
I had no doubt that would occur.
Once they found out you weren't in the room, they targeted you. But I hope that we are going to go forward with some very specific things that we can do as a community to partner and pull together. And I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. I just wanted to echo that same thing, that it was very well organized. Dr. Howard kept your interest the whole time, and it was a great point that education is a community. It's up to the community, not up just to the schools. So, and I thought it was a great thing, and you'll get your list of chores to do in the mail. So, thank you.
Okay, motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next is the personnel report, Madam Superintendent.
Yes, you have the monthly report of retirements and resignations. I do want to comment that Pamela Simpkins, longtime principal of the McAuliffe School, has announced her retirement as of June 30th of 2007.
Motion to accept the report by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. And under home education, I believe there's one.
Yes, just one request for committee approval.
Roll call on that.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the request by Mr. McHugh, second by Mr. Leahy? Roll call, please.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Faticante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay. That brings us to new business. The first item is the quarterly report on motions. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, you have a report listing all of the motions since the last quarter. I've identified in yellow those that I believe have been dealt with and can be removed from the list.
Any questions? Motion to accept the report by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next item is the delegate to the Mass Association of School Committees.
Your Honor, I'd like to nominate my colleague Jackie Doherty.
Motion to name Ms. Doherty as our delegate by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Mr. Leahy. Roll call, please.
Mr. Leahy, you need an alternate too. Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Faticante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay. And next,
We need an alternate in case you can't show up. You should have an alternate.
I would nominate Mr. Leary.
Mr. Leary?
As an alternate.
all right. Motion to name Mr. Leary as the alternate by Ms. Faticante, second by Mr. Leahy. Roll call.
In case something happens. Miss Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
We'll talk to him.
Miss Doherty?
Yes.
Miss Fattacante?
Yes?
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
No, absolutely not.
Well, Mr. Leary needs to be reminded that
serious?
as a new school committee member, he is required to get continuing
serious?
education
No.
points, which
Are
he
you
has a year
serious?
to get.
Yes or no?
The year is coming to an
No?
end, Mr.
Okay.
Leary.
6 yeas, 1 nay, approved.
Okay. Next item is authorization to restore the elementary alternative program. Madam Superintendent?
I'd like to actually hold on this until I can get some additional information for the committee.
Okay. Motion to
Motion to
delay
hold.
to the next meeting by
Delay.
Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Matter is delayed until the next meeting. There are a number of Convention Conference Center requests. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to take them all.
Motion to take them all together and approve by
I'll do it. First,
Mr. Leahy?
number 4.
Remove, Your Honor, remove number 4 from the list to vote on separately.
All right. We'll consider all of them except number 4 together. So moved by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Any opposed? That motion is approved. So a motion to approve
Motion to approve.
by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Let it be items 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Roll call.
Miss Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Miss Doherty?
Yes.
Miss Fattacante?
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Your Honor, motion to approve item number 4.
Motion to approve item 4 by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Ms. Martin. Roll call.
Miss Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Miss Doherty?
Present.
Miss Fattacante?
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 present, approved.
Okay, that brings us to the motion for executive session. And I will read the motion, but I think first we need to determine whether we will reconvene in open session or simply adjourn from executive session. There may well be items that we can make public at the conclusion of the executive session. It appears to me there are a number of people interested in that, and I don't know what the wish of the committee is, but that may be appropriate to reconvene in open session. Okay,
That's
is
fine.
that the consensus?
Yes.
All right. So the motion by Ms. Fatt.
So we would basically recess so that we
Well,
can reconvene.
If I could read, the motion would be by Ms. Fattacante to go into executive session to entertain a possible discussion of the superintendent's contract and to consider possible charges and discipline resulting from her performance as superintendent of schools, and then to reconvene in open session at the conclusion of that executive session. So moved by Ms. Fattacante, second by Ms. Martin. Roll call, please. I'm sorry, Ms. Fattacante.
Thank you, Your Honor. The goal of this motion, when I placed it on the agenda, was, and I spoke to my colleagues, because I would never place a motion like this without speaking to them, but I think that we as a group, we as the CEOs of the school department, need to understand where we're going, need to be very clear that we're on track, and we need to be very clear that we have a handle on all of the issues that have presented themselves to us. And the only way to have a frank discussion was to, in fact, go into executive session. I do want to thank Christine O'Connor. She actually worded this so that the wording was appropriate to get us into the opportunity to go into executive session. Apparently, without the wording as it is, that would not have happened. So that was important, that we be able to have a frank discussion with our superintendent about let's being clear about what is happening, where we're going, and so that when we face people in the community, we can be assured that what we say to them is 100% correct. And I just felt that we needed to have some frank discussion. The way to have that, and I'm not opposed to having it on the floor either, but it was recommended that we do that discussion in executive session.
Thank you, Ms. Fattacante. Ms. Doherty?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not going to support this motion for several reasons. The first one is I don't believe the superintendent's performance has warranted any sort of disciplinary action to this extreme. Mistakes have been made. We've recognized weaknesses in our system that we need to strengthen, and I think that we have begun to see immediately that the priority and the strengthening is happening. I feel that this committee in particular has been very explicit about our concerns over the last month, so much so with the scrutiny we've gotten in addition to that from the media, that many very positive things that have happened in recent times in our schools, such as being number one, in the top 3 urban districts to show the kind of improvement we've seen with our 10th grade MCAS scores, has been lost. And I feel that this notion of going into executive session to discuss it further seems to imply that there's other things, hidden things that we haven't talked about, and I don't think that's the reality. I would prefer to move forward with the reforms that we've got laid in front of us and the concerns we've spelled out that have clearly being responded to, rather than continue to do this public kind of flogging that I think is it's not appropriate. It's not moving our school system forward. I guess the fact that we will be able to report out what results from this meeting makes it a little more palatable to me, because I prefer to keep it on the floor if we could. But I guess my feeling is that we've said what we wanted to say, frankly, and if there was more that needed to be said, it should be said here now.
Okay. Anyone further on the motion? Okay. Roll call.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
No.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
7 yeas, 1 nay, approved.
Okay, so the meeting will stand in recess until we conclude this meeting, and we will reconvene
Should we set a
back
time
here
limit?
as soon as
Time
is
limit?
I need a
possible.
motion to
Your Honor,
recess, though.
for the purposes of people who are here, should the committee adhere to a specific time limit so that the meeting does not, tomorrow's a school day, and for a lot of us, so I don't, half an hour?
I would think that's more than adequate,
Okay.
but,
I need a motion to recess,
okay.
though.
Motion to
Motion to
recess
recess.
by,
To go into executive session.
Go into
that was the roll
executive
call.
No, that was on the motion to go into exec, oh, all right, it wasn't, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right.
Okay, why don't we reconvene in the mayor's reception room?
I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I hate this. 8:45, 8, 5 p.m. Go into. What's the bottom line doing? I'm sorry. I don't want to. I will start crying. I can't take this.
I'm trying to stick it.
Okay. Okay, we will now reconvene the meeting of the school committee in open session. Roll call, please.
Miss Martin.
Here.
Mr. McHugh.
Here.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
Miss Doherty.
Here.
Miss Fattacante.
Here?
Mr. Leahy.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Here.
7 present.
Okay, my understanding of the open meeting law is that when an executive session occurs and the purpose is no longer required to remain private, the minutes of the meeting may be made public, and I think this situation applies there. So the minutes are very brief of the executive session. There's a roll call, and everybody voted. Everybody was present. Mr. McHugh moved not to move forward with any disciplinary action against the superintendent. That motion was seconded by Mr. Leary, and after discussion, it was approved unanimously. Following that, Ms. Doherty moved to adjourn the executive session. That was approved by Mr. McHugh, and that motion was also approved unanimously. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I would like to move forward and make a motion for a vote of confidence in the superintendent.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh?
Second.
Second by Mr. McHugh. Discussion? Anybody? Ms. Fattacante?
Thank you, Your Honor. I clearly feel much better about the state of our school system. And as I said to my colleagues, I think that we clearly, as a group of people, needed to have the conversation with the superintendent. I think it was extremely important for us as a group of people so that we can function as a group, because nothing here happens in a vacuum, okay? Motions need to be made, they need to be seconded, and nothing can happen as single individuals. And we are a group of people. And sometimes we fight, and sometimes we argue, but the bottom line is we are responsible. And I take that responsibility very seriously. And I was able to express my concerns openly to my colleagues and to you, Your Honor, and to the superintendent. And I was able to explain to her my greatest concerns, and my expectations that those concerns are looked at and dealt with appropriately. I indicated to the superintendent, I cannot give her that vote tonight. In a month from now, it's possible, but I need to see the clarification of the things that I asked for tonight. And she clearly understands what I think she does right. And there are lots of things that I think she does right. And I'm not even saying that the clarification I need is about things that are wrong, but there are clearly clarifications about policies and where we're heading that I need to understand, that I need to know, that so that we can work together cohesively as a group. And that's my stand. And I sorry if people don't like that, but clearly every person in this room understands the weight of our responsibility. And we do not take it lightly at all. And we take it very seriously, or else we wouldn't subject ourselves to this. And I cannot move ahead with that vote yet, because I need to see some changes in the way things are done. I think those things will happen. I think the changes will clearly occur, but I need to see them. And call me Doubting Thomas, that's fine. But I need to see those actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much. I'm also extremely pleased we were able to have the meeting this evening, and I do think that we came out of it in a much better frame of mind. To repeat myself and what I said during the meeting, I think that as we consider this evening a vote of confidence, I can say without question that I am extremely confident in the capacity of this specific individual, of Dr. Carla Brooks Bear, to take our district into the really formidable challenges that face us in these next few years. I think we are a district with extreme challenges, and I think she is particularly well suited to take us and guide our system. I think that we are at perhaps a watershed moment in our district, and we decide tonight what kind of district we want to be. And I think we are choosing tonight to be a district that is forward-looking, that is innovative and creative, and that values those things, and that really does stay focused on the quality of education in every single classroom. I have the utmost confidence in our superintendent to accomplish that job. I also have that same level of confidence in my colleagues to take us through that, in the role that we play in terms of, whether it's a board of directors or whatever comparison you want to make. I think we have a very vibrant and active group of individuals who are very committed, and I think we do all, while we have certainly in many cases different opinions and perspectives, we have really a wealth of information, a wealth of experience on this school committee, and I think we are, again, particularly well suited to the district that we serve. Again, I can't stress enough that this is the time. This is the time when we decide who we want to be when we grow up, who we want this district and what we want this district to represent, not only in the outer environs where Lowell is looked at as a leader, but also within our own community, within our own city. I think it's important for us to recognize the extraordinary things that are happening and to be respectful of that, and to be cognizant of the fact that that's happening because of the hard work of the team of people at the administrative level, at the level of teachers, at all of the support staff. That's why that happens. It takes a great many people to make this work, and I think that this committee working with this superintendent are extremely well suited to take that challenge into the future.
Thank you. Anyone further? Ms. Doherty.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to say that the concerns that were brought out in executive session, I think, had already been expressed on the floor, that there wasn't much new added in terms of the superintendent's performance. What was new for me was really hearing how we're working together as a committee, and how, as was brought out at the meeting, these sorts of incidents, they're not done. We live in a world today, in an urban community in particular, where there's always going to be safety issues, there's always going to be concerns, and how we respond as a committee and work together to move forward is as important as how we respond to the superintendent. And that was something that perhaps really needed to be said in executive session. I don't know. I came out earlier saying I think everything could have been said on the floor, but I see that it is important that this committee moves forward together with the superintendent and recognizes that we each bring different strengths and different perspectives, but our intentions are all wholeheartedly on continuing to make improvement in our schools. And I think that's what I see in our administration and the staff, the people we have working with our children. That is our goal as a school department and a school committee, and I think that we will continue to make improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leary.
Just briefly, one, I want to say I think we did have to go into executive session because we did discuss our policies and consequences when they're not followed. We did discuss, I think, a variety of issues with a variety of opinions with all members. I want to publicly say, I've already said it, that I have complete confidence in you as running the school system, as being, as I call this, the CEO of the system. I also have equal confidence in your 4 direct assistant superintendents who report directly to you, and the principals in the Lowell Public Schools, and the teachers as well. And so, me and the superintendent and I don't always agree on issues. In fact, we often disagree. But I do have a great amount of respect for the time and the effort and the ability that you put into the job. And I'm going to definitely approve for my vote of confidence for you running the school system. I can't wait to start debating you on issues again, and hopefully I'll win one, so it'll be good.
Mr. McHugh.
Just briefly, I think, just to echo some of my colleagues, I think that I too, as a parent of 2 children, have choices, and I choose to send my children to the Lowell school system because it is a great system. It really is. And I think that the superintendent has taken it to the next level. I mean, we have the reading program, the math program. We were talking about MCAS scores tonight. That's the curriculum piece. That's a very important piece. There are other issues that are part of the system as well that are equally important, but really as parents and as everyone out there trying to do their job as teachers and principals, it's about educating our children. And there's nobody better right now to be doing that. So that's my vote of confidence. Will we probably disagree on some items down the road when we get to budget time or some other things? Possibly. But I think that's a healthy debate, and that needs to happen as well. But as far as the leadership that we have, I think the vote of confidence is definitely there for that, and we want to continue to have her leadership take us through this next few years and continue the mission that we're about to make Lowell Public Schools the best urban school system in the state of Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. I'll go quickly so we don't break the 10 o'clock rule, but my kids are still in school, enrolled in the Lowell Public Schools, and that's how I show my confidence in you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy, would you assume the chair here?
We got 1 minute. Are we going to, someone needs a motion?
Motion to go past 10 o'clock, Mr. Chairperson?
Second.
Okay.
Second and first.
Second by who? Okay, Larry.
Mayor Martin.
Thank you. Obviously, we all voted that there was no reason to take disciplinary action against the superintendent in the executive session. I was very pleased for that outcome. I said that in advance of the meeting that I certainly didn't think that was warranted or necessary. But this motion on the floor right now, I think it's appropriate to speak on. I think certainly the superintendent has my confidence. I think we've seen extraordinary strides in the school system under her tenure here. I know that there's much discussion about test scores and whether that is the end-all and be-all of education. Certainly it isn't, but we have MCAS and other federal requirements we have to live under. We have to show progress in those areas, and we are. I said earlier this evening I was grateful for the people in this room for the work they have done to improve that, but it's really just one measure of the learning that takes place every day. I must say I'm a convert to the Lowell Public Schools, and Mr. McHugh and both Mr. Leahy said they send their children to the system as I do now. And I didn't always do that. My children were in parochial schools, and I'm proud to send them to the Lowell Public Schools. I'm proud of the work that the folks in this room and the teachers in our classrooms do. I think my children are safe. I certainly feel that they're safe in the schools, and I think they're getting the best education they can get. And I don't know what better vote of confidence there is in the superintendent than that. And so I guess it's, given the late hour, I'll leave it at that. But I know we have much work to do. I think people of goodwill will always disagree as long as we are agreeable in our disagreement and always keep the best interest of the school children at heart. I have great confidence this system will move ahead, continue to improve, and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Take the roll call.
Roll call, yeah.
Roll call.
Okay, on the motion. Vote of confidence in the superintendent. Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Present.
Present. Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 present, approved.
Motion to adjourn.
Dr. Bear?
If I could just say, I want to thank you, thank the committee. This is really an extraordinary city. I have an extraordinarily strong teaching staff and support staff that have done the work to make our schools strong. I couldn't ask for a more extraordinary group of principals, assistant principals, administrators. My assistant superintendents make this possible, and it will be my privilege to work for the 7 of you in the years ahead to do what Mr. McHugh has set as the challenge, to be the very best urban school system in Massachusetts. I look forward and relish the challenge that lies ahead. Thank you.
To adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Mayor Martin. Adjourned.
Martin.